tracking. There has been a major setback for Pakistan and its economy as Shahbaz Sharif's government and the IMF's 9th review meeting has failed to reach a staff-level agreement during their talks. This standoff and deadlock comes after Pakistan officials declined the condition of cut in defence budget of 10 to 20% as committed in their earlier talks. The fund has rejected the gradual approach proposal of Pakistan, saying everything has to be done up front. The IMF further has added that they can't trust Pakistan. However, both the parties have agreed to broader framework aimed at satisfying the lender of the last resort in the coming days. Let's also now bring in security analyst Pathikrit Payne, who's joining us on the broadcast. Pathikrit, just last week here on CNN News 18, we had put out the tough conditions that the IMF had set for Pakistan. Now, at a time when the IMF is coming out and saying that we're not okay with this gradual approach, if you want things to be done, it needs to be done up front. Their biggest condition has been the cut as far as the defense budget is concerned. Do you think Pakistan will have to maneuver around that because there is no other choice?
Well, for Pakistan, the choice is between a rock and a hard place. See, the reality is for most of the conditions that IMF had imposed, Pakistan government would have agreed because the burden would have come on the common man, especially in terms of increasing the price of essential commodities. But when it comes to defense, I mean, area for the government of Pakistan, because the deep state of Pakistan, as we all know, literally owns the country. So it is not just that the 26% of the budget that goes into defense. There are also a lot of other expenditures which are passed on as civilian expenditures but are generally meant for these generals and other top-level officers of army. So I think the army has been extremely reluctant to actually accept that. And I think the sabotage, if at all, has happened, it is because it is from Islamabad, Rawalpindi rather. So the Rawalpindi doesn't want any kind of interference either by the Pakistan government or IMF when it comes to their share of whatever revenue Pakistan has. So, see, either way, even if they have taken the conditions of IMF, things would have been extremely difficult for Shahbaz Sharif because he would have been compelled to raise prices of everything. And as it is, prices are already very high and purchasing power of Pakistan.
I agree with the point that you're making, Pathikrit. You know, this is something that we've been putting out on CNN News 18 for our viewers as well. If you look at fuel or other essentials, they're already running out of that. As far as options of a bailout are concerned, IMF is their last and only hope. So when IMF walks out of talks at such a crucial stage, what are the options really left with Pakistan? And more importantly, do you see both these parties now agreeing to some sort of a common broad work going forward?
Look, in the last 50, 60 years, Pakistan has taken more than $31 billion in 21 such loans from IMF. And there is no audit of where that money has actually gone as to whether they have done the structural reforms. So this time IMF is very, very strict. That's number one. So they have made it very clear, what come what may, you have to accept the conditions. So far as Pakistan is concerned, for a long time they played the China card, the Turkey card, the American card. This time the problem or the predicament for both the Islamabad and Rawalpindi is that they have no cards left to play. The Chinese have made it very clear they're not going to help or bail out Pakistan this time. They wanted Middle East to do it or Turkey to do it. Turkey's condition, we all know what it is right now. Middle East has absolutely made it very clear they will roll over the existing loans, but they will not give any fresh loan. So the reality is there's very little option but to actually accept the IMF conditions. But IMF conditions, if the government accept, they are already unpopular. It will only make sure that Imran Khan comes back to power again next election. But whatever it is,
because the IMF is also saying at this point that we don't trust your commitment, so we don't trust this gradual approach either. So you can continue to buy time, but we want everything to be done up front. Pathikrit, we'll leave the conversation there. Thanks a lot for joining us here on CNN News. We're cutting across